everyone, and welcome to my video channel. As you all know, in our Facebook group we started the monthly challenges. Each month there will be some picture to do. Normally it will be just a photograph or anyway interesting reference picture, and I'll try to keep it all the time, every month different picture, gradually increasing the complexity. Every time I will prepare some sort of prizes for the winners, and also I think that would be a good idea. At the same time, I will do some sort of I wouldn't call it lessons, but some like explanation how I would do it. Of course, everything that I will do will be off. I wouldn't be like a participant or something in these challenges, but anyway, especially for the beginners, I think it will be very helpful. Especially all the time I'll try to give you some interesting advices and maybe tips. It will definitely make your life easier. So our first challenge in this month is this rustic door. You will see it on the picture. Also, it's available in our group in the Facebook. Link always will be attached. And before you start anything that you willing to do in terms of watercolor picture, you have to plan ahead. Loads of things supposed to be planned. Literally every step that you're planning to do supposed to be in your head, so there will be no confusion, and you just like your whole workflow will go smoothly, and there will be less mistake as in any other cases if you won't go unprepared, because you all know watercolor is not actually so forgiving compared to, say, oil paints. You can't take it off. In most cases you can't fix it. Some mistakes, and to save disappointment, we need to know something and plan things, and in many cases just use available as I said, tricks to make our life easier. First things first, some of you I know would start your sketching directly on the watercolor paper. I found somewhere in my stacks like this piece of, I think it's French. It's pretty heavy. It's like even like a cardboard. I think it's 600 grams. It's okay. I don't mind. So I don't want to start drawing and rubbing directly on this, because watercolor paper is generally very fragile, and if you start rubbing even like with the special erasers, you always in risk to damage the top coat of watercolor paper, which we don't want to do. So we will put this aside, and what I've done already, I've picked just a standard A3 size printer paper, very light stuff. So as you can understand, I can do practically anything I want on this. You know, I can be drawing, rubbing. So I did the sketch of the door. I don't need loads of details on the sketch. All I need is general shape, proportions, and some key elements to be presented on this sketch. And as the next step, I'm gonna transfer this onto watercolor paper. This is how it's done. So when you've done work with your sketch, you just flip this blank side up, take some soft pencil. I use maybe 6B, 4B will do, and very thoroughly shade the back side. As you're probably guessing, this simple procedure creates effect of carbon paper. So we're creating this transferable layer. So when we're ready, it's going to be placed on the top of our watercolor paper, and we just trace it. So that little thing, I practically use this all the time. If my work involves any sketching, so I do this first, and only after, especially if I know that it will involve loads of roaming and maybe some lines, excessive amount of lines that I need. So that's the way to do it. It will help you to keep your paper safe and undamaged. Apparently you can see even like the area that you're supposed to cover it, like nearly transparent, so you can see exactly what you need to cover with this shading. Nice and easy. Make sure you're doing this on a very flat, smooth surface to avoid any, if there's any texture on underlying surface, it could be, transferring. So you don't want to see that anyway. So when we've done, I think this is good enough. I'll take my watercolor paper, place in the front of me. So then I will arrange my door in the way that I would like to see it. Set. It looks like the watercolor paper is slightly smaller. I will cut this, doesn't matter. Looks good anyway. So to make sure composition wise is sitting in your artboard correctly, so you have no troubles with the alignment and stuff. Then what you're gonna do, I'm gonna use couple of pieces of masking tape and secure it to the surface of the watercolor paper so it doesn't move while I'm transferring. Okay. Right, couple of things to remember before we start. Now we will be using softer pencil. I will be using 2B pencil for the tracing. Do not apply too much pressure. You can always test it this way. For instance, I can say trace this line and see how it goes. Not enough. Then I will make it harder until I got the result that I require. So whenever I can see it, so this is good enough. And so I will start tracing all the lines that I need to be on my picture. Yeah. Sometimes I'd like to have it like barely seen. So all I need is just major lines and details on this picture. From time to time I can refer leave the edges and see how it goes. I think I don't even want to trace these things here. I will do them, you know, freehand at later stage. All I need is just door and arc transferred precisely. Okay. When I finish tracing, this is what I can see. It's barely seen, but that's exactly what I need. As long as I can see the lines, I'm happy. Next thing is to rework the picture with the old details that I would like to be, you know, presented on my future picture. Always I will have a reference photograph. It's on the computer screen in the front of me at the moment, and the pencil I'm using for that, sharply sharpened HB pencil. So very, very sharp HB pencil with the very light, soft motions without any excessive pressure. I will rework all the lines and details as I need it. Starting work from the top downwards. So I need all lines very soft and crisp. Soft, I mean like barely seen. Like. Of course I can use eraser, but with this way of doing that, usage of eraser will be minimal. Okay, so, and all I'm doing is just creating my picture. To its final appearance. All details on the door. If you notice, actually all details are very, very important. The more details you can capture and recreate on your picture, the more interesting your picture will be then. So try to find loads of details and reflect them in your picture. So I think there is a plank at the bottom of the door is missing, so we just I'll skip it. left part of the door is lower, or I mean the right part of the door. This part is lower, you can see it. It has to be reflected on the picture. So please make sure you have it. Now I think as my picture is done, I'm ready for paint. As you can see, sometimes I can even shade very dark areas. It just, for me, it works. I like to do it, and you know, often it helps, but don't obviously overdo it, because you know, if you do it too much, especially in the areas that are not supposed to be dark. So everything is done. Of course, here I have presented only like a contours of the major details, cracks, or maybe separate stones that exposed here when the plaster it came off. As I said, like all the cracks, and I'm pretty happy with all that I've done with the preparation. And next stage is painting.